This week we discovered, with most Australians being unable to afford housing, that they can't even afford a toaster. This led to two guys starting a GoFundMe page to try and buy a $6,000 toaster. Now, not only did they raise $6,000, they raised more than that. This can either help them buy their toaster or fund a film. I'm Maria Romas, and today on Provisionally Approved, we'll be talking all things crowdfunding and microbudgeting with my special guests, David Raynor, filmmaker, and Mardi Edge, actress. And we've also got a exclusive microbudgeting video with Dan Shultheis. I'm not good with last names, I'm sorry.
That's pretty good. That wasn't too bad. Hey?
Hopefully. But thank you so much for joining me, both of you.
It's
great
really
to be here.
Yeah, great.
Now, David, you've been a filmmaker for quite some time now, and you've recently finished your film, So This Is It Then. You've done quite a few other films like Hello, Tom Sullivan, which we'll talk about a little later, but tell me a bit about So This Is It Then.
Well, So This Is It Then is about a marriage that took place a number of years ago. It's based on a true story, and it's a drama, but it's also a marriage that goes completely upside down by the end of the film. It's a 22-minute film, and Mardi plays the mother of the lead, you know, and so yeah, we shot it at Bitton, past Mornington Peninsula. Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful property a friend of mine owns. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to make. Had some great actors.
Now we've got the trailer, but before we go into the trailer, Mardi, you play quite an interesting character. You play a mother in So This Is It Then. So tell me a bit about your character before we...
Well, she is a mother, and her name is Jeanne, but she's always been an outspoken woman, loves her family, doesn't hesitate to say what she thinks quite forcibly at times. And in the script that David wrote, she has a particular dislike to the daughter-in-law-to-be, which makes for a very interesting film as the film progresses along.
It would, but shall we go into the trailer right now and watch it? This is So This Is It Then, starring Mardi Edge, a film made by David Raynor.
So this is it then.
That was quite interesting.
Yeah, this is real. This is
real.
Yeah.
Now, going into this is a short film, and you would have had to try and crowdfund even fund this film yourself.
Well, yeah, I funded this one myself, which I've done a couple in the past like that.
Did you not consider crowdfunding as a
Well, I thought about doing it, but I wrote the script about 18 months ago, and everyone just thought it was hilarious, and it's like, and I didn't really decide to do it until November last year. So we had a pretty tight time frame on it, because I wanted to shoot it in January, because I wanted to enter it in Melbourne International Film Festival. I had to be in by May, and that gave me 6 weeks pretty much after we'd shot it to do the editing, do the post, do the sound, do mixing, the whole lot. So yeah, so from November, which was November the 15th, I had to get all the cast and crew and everyone over Christmas and New Year, have rehearsals and all that. So I really didn't have a lot of time to think about crowdfunding at that.
That takes quite a long time to do, to crowdfund and to plan it. But Mardi, you're an actress. You started acting in your teens to early 20s. You kind of went into modelling and fashion corporate industry, and in the last 3 years you got back into acting. You would have had to gone on to low budget films, student films, and crowdfunded films. Like, in your opinion, how was that, doing that?
Exactly. Look, I really feel, because I decided that I had been in the corporate world, my first passion had been acting, and after 20 years in the corporate world, I made a decision one day in discussing with my husband, I'm going to return to acting, which was in 2013. So I put myself back through drama school, through studying. And then starting as a mature actress, I thought, well, what do you do now? And it's exactly right what you say. I thought the first thing you have to do is well, obviously get photos, show reels, but once you've done all that and secured an agent, set yourself up on Star Now, and you're already put on the professional sites, which you pay for by your agent. But I discovered very early on that the best thing you can do when you're starting all over again is to look for student films and look for suitable roles that you want to apply for.
Now, David, when you first started, you would have, you know, had to try and figure out how you can, because you said you didn't actually think of crowdfunding at all within any of your films.
My next film, I'm crowdfunding. We are crowdfunding.
Yes.
I've discovered, I actually tried crowdfunding once before by myself, and because I'm writing, directing, and I'm producing, and investing, you know, there's a lot going on, you know. So I did try once before to do early stages of crowdfunding. There's only, I think, two crowdfunding sites available.
Well, now there's a lot.
Well, there's a lot, yeah. And I made a mistake in that I didn't bring enough people with expertise to get involved with it. I also made a crucial error in that, and I can't remember which one it was now, but the site that I signed up to didn't allow payment by Australian by credit card, only PayPal. Okay. So I couldn't even get my friends. They said, we're not going to fill out all these forms and stuff. Like, we just want to give you $100, you know. And I had a number of people saying that, even people I didn't know, saying, you know, we're not interested in doing PayPal. I've signed up to PayPal, so to me it wasn't a big problem, but for other people. So when you're looking at these sites, you got to make sure they fit into how you want to actually go ahead and proceed, and it's got to be available to everyone to put their money in. You know.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because, you know, I know I've done a bit of crowdfunding, and Mardi, I know you have a bit of a business brain, but it's like doing a business plan and getting in front of like a room full of businessmen. You have to have great visuals. You have to have, you know, what you want to say, the who, the what, the when, the where, and have also incentives. You know, because obviously there are people who are giving money out of their own pockets.
Yeah, exactly. Well, funnily enough, before you asked us on the show, we'd already set up a meeting last night for the next film, which is what's that called? The next one?
We need to.
Oh, we need to talk.
We need to talk.
We need to talk.
We need to talk.
Nice.
I have these long titles and stuff like that. So, Mardi invited over a friend of hers, as an actress, and to come in on setting up crowdfunding, you know, which she's had quite a bit of experience at. But so as of the meeting last night, we've got 5 people that she's ticked off to possibly, she's got to speak to them of course, but possibly be part of this crowdfunding. So what we're doing, it's really like we're doing a couple of films. We're doing this first one as a business, right, filmed, so we get that structured completely separate from the actual production itself. You know, so that's how we're structuring it.
Can we talk a little bit about how to make a strong crowdfunding campaign, Mardi? What's your experience as an actress with crowdfunding? Have you been in any campaigns that you've been used in?
You know, I haven't actually set up the campaign myself, but having known students when I first started that were doing campaigns, to me, and look, using my business brain here, not my actress brain, the first thing that I thought they needed to do is that make sure that the crowdfunding campaign has a lot of visuals in it, exciting visuals, because nobody wants to sit down and watch, I've said this to David, a director talking for minutes on end about what a marvellous film they're going to do. They want to be excited about what it's going to be. They want to know, if we're going to invest in this, you know, what are we going to get back, not just in monetary terms or the rewards that you put in. So it needs to be a business plan when you do your crowdfunding. You need to think very carefully about what you want to put in.
Would you say there's kind of that stereotype within the creative industry? Because I know I've been told, like when I said I'm starting to be in the creative industry, I've been told you're lost, or when I've actually tried to stand in front of a group of small business owners, like, we won't go near those creatives. No, so would you say that makes it hard to crowdfund because people are like, I'm not going to fund this film, or, you know, I don't want to go near the crazy creatives or lost ones?
Well, I think there's that stereotype that people will often think, you know, creative people don't understand business, but actually that's not true.
Well,
and
there's
that's,
also, there's also there's a lot of people out there that would love to be part of film. You know, they find it exciting.
They do find it exciting.
You know, it's so a lot of the business side of things, you know, the businessmen, women may not, because it's just about dollars to them. But as you know, being in creative business, it's not all about dollars.
No, it's about,
actually most of it's just about having, you know, the love of and the passion to create. Someone said to me a little while ago, said, why would you spend $3,000 on a film when no one's going to buy it, and no one's going to, you're not going to make any money out of it? And I said, well, I can't help myself.
Yeah, because you love it.
But the bottom line is also with that, who they were talking about with Hello, Tom Sullivan, that's the distribution in America, LA, and it's just been, last week it's just been picked up to be screened in, I think it's Shorts TV in the States.
And
so, yeah, things can happen, you know.
We'll talk about Hello, Tom Sullivan a little later, but there are so many crowdfunding sites. You mentioned when you kind of touched on crowdfunding, there were like not a lot. Now there's Kickstarter, GoFundMe, Possible. Like I could name so many, but what are the best sites in your opinion? Like, because you're going to crowdfund for your next film.
Yeah.
Are you thinking, where do I go now? What's the best site for me?
Well,
flexible or fit?
Yeah, it's we haven't got any picked out yet because we just had our meeting last night. But I was talking to people last night about what I'm able to do, and I don't know whether everyone's able to do this, but I can make a film for $5 grand, 10 grand, 50 grand, and it depends how many days we want to shoot and how much I have to leave out, you know. So we're looking at for this next one, we're looking at a 10-day shoot. Yeah. But we could bring it down to 5, you know. So we're looking at a site that can accommodate all the things that we need, right, to do. And one of them, of course, is going to be, as I just mentioned before, it's going to be availability of people being able to put their money in, right, to do it. But we'll have a number of rewards too for them.
That's another thing, rewards.
It's important.
It's important, but what rewards do you have though? Because you have to think of the best rewards that you can afford. Because like for me, I'm a student, I'm going to do a drama in my second semester, and we've got like a budget of $0, so crowdfunding will be good for me actually. Yeah, it would. And learn to micro-budget no money. Anyway, what rewards do you give?
There's a few, but I think there's the incentive is we talked about having because my films are because I've edited in a number of festivals and stuff. You've got to be very careful with festivals, whether they're world premieres or whether they're national premieres or whatever, especially on a higher level, you know. So we have to be careful of that. But what they suggested last night, which I thought was a good idea, is you have a red carpet. Yeah. Right? Or a black carpet or green carpet or whatever carpet, or yellow carpet.
Pink.
Or a pink carpet. And you invite the celebrities and you invite, so it's not just for the cast and crew and their families and friends, you know, but you have a full-on event, you know, and so therefore they can be at this event and mix with all these people, you know, too. Yeah. That's just one of the, you know.
You know what else is part of crowdfunding? Microbudgeting. Yeah. We've got to learn to micro-budget that.
Exactly.
And we actually have an interview with a micro-budgeting expert from Open Channels. So let's take a look at that.
I want his number.
I do too.
Hi, my name's Vanessa from Provisionally, and today I'm with an expert on micro-budgeting, Daniel Shultheis.
Thank you for calling me an expert.
Well, you are an expert. He works for Open Channel. He also is a training and operations manager. But he will be here to discuss some tips for crowdfunding and for micro-budgeting. So what would your advice be? I mean, I know you run Open Channel and you know, run courses. What's your advice to people who want to make a film on a micro-budget? Yeah. What's sort of their checklist? That
well, as I was going to say, I think make it is the most important advice, which is, you know, don't wait 7 years for somebody to fund your script or your film through the mainstream system. You know, we're lucky to have that system of supported production in Australia. Very lucky to have that. But if that's the only thing that you're waiting for, then you're going to be waiting a long time. You're in a queue for somebody to give you the support to make your first film. So go out there and make it. You've got the technology. And more importantly, the second wave that's happening in micro-budget filmmaking is distribution, is being able to reach audiences, build, you know, crowdfund your film. So it's actually thinking about more than just now making your film. It's actually all the work, in terms of how you develop, build your audience from the very early stage of your film.
So what would your tips be for
and how you get to
crowdfunding?
them. So crowdfunding tips, I think from the filmmakers that we've been involved with at Open Channel, I guess the main message that I get back from them all the time is that crowdfunding is just a tool, it's just a platform. Don't put your project there and expect that the world is going to fund you. It's a lot of work.
People do think that.
Yeah.
They don't realise that it's a marketing campaign as well.
It's a lot of work, a lot of strategy, a lot of taking time to really care about your audience, to have the conversation with your audience, to follow through on what you promise for your audience in terms of updates in your film or rewards or whatever it is. And the great thing about no budget micro-budget filmmaking is you can take risks. You don't have those obligations to funders to kind of change your work. You can take really great creative risks which can benefit the project, but you can't just go travel blind and hope that someone's going to see your film, because filmmakers will tell you, even filmmakers that have made amazing films that have been really well received at festivals, it'll just sit on the shelf if you don't actively push it, promote it, think about how you're going to reach audiences. So the filmmaker today is really much more than just the creative. They're an entrepreneur. They're going to be thinking about what they're making, why they want to make it, how they're going to get there, how that's going to help them with the next project.
You've got a fellowship yourself to do this.
In fact, people can download this from a website called the International Specialised Skills Institute. They're an amazing organisation, foundation that support international fellowships. In fact, they have one closing in a couple of weeks, a hot tip, called the George Alexander Foundation Fellowships. If other people have ideas for things they'd like to research overseas.
So that way you get paid to research?
Paid to research, amazing. So I went to UK and Europe for a couple of weeks to look at schemes over there where filmmakers come in, they develop projects and they eventually get them funded and made, and how those schemes are ultimately helping filmmakers. But this report you can read through that website, International Specialised.
You can download it as a PDF.
Yeah.
I downloaded it as a PDF. But what did you learn from that?
Well, a couple of things.
Do you have for people with micro-budgeting here?
I was looking at some key tips in terms of how filmmakers are supported. The first thing is of course story. Always comes down to having an amazing story. The mistake a lot of filmmakers make in micro-budget, and I should clarify when I say micro-budget, I'm actually not talking no budget.
Yeah.
Micro, the definition we were using is somewhere between $50,000 and $250,000 films. Still cheap.
Yeah.
But of course, no budget, you're working with,
Or your
friend.
Yeah.
So they're proper films, but they're made usually within a level of constraint. So, think about, the found footage films like Blair Witch Project or a containment film where everyone's trapped in a room. So they're cheap by design. Paranormal activity. In fact, at our Open Channel did a conference last year on micro-budget movie making, and you can listen to podcasts on our website. We had the producer of Paranormal Activity talking to us there. I mean, that film was shot for $15,000.
And it's made
$200 million in the box office. And that guy that runs that business, Blumhouse, is really, really, really smart. He's the smartest guy in Hollywood.
People do like scary films. I mean, Blair Witch did really well too.
And the secret is, rather than spending $100 million on a film and having one film occasionally be a success, he spends a couple of $1 million on a film. Directors work for next to nothing, but they have complete creative control. But he has guaranteed cinema distribution for them, and he knows that even if a film's a dud, it's going to probably make that money back. So he has a sustainable model for making movies, but of course occasionally a film pops and breaks out, everybody wins. And if you look at his films in terms of, say, return on investment and how well his films do, he's got like 7 films in the top 20 most profitable films of all time.
Wow.
So we can't make hundreds of $3 million. That's a lot of money for us in Australia, In Hollywood, that's nothing.
Do you think you can make films for less than $50,000?
Absolutely, absolutely. You can grab your friends and your digital camera and go out and make a feature tomorrow. The thing about micro-budget filmmaking is it's actually turning your constraints into a creative advantage. It's not about how do we make, a massive epic film with not enough money. It's about what have I got?
Oh, what can I do with it?
Yeah, what my friends might be, I might have friends with a couple of actors, or be friends with a couple of actors, have a friend who can shoot a location, a cafe that I have access to. We think about that, how do we create a movie using those things that we have available to us? And, films...
And if you have a good story, it can be a really good movie.
Absolutely.
So
And you look
not
porno as in porno.
Porno, it's about the pawn shops.
P-A-W-N-O.
Yes, you have to say that to people.
an ensemble film. A couple of actors got together, not much money, and had a location.
They had some name actors in that film.
Some name actors, but again, like the material can attract great actors. It doesn't have to. You don't have to have a huge budget if you have great
So
material.
I guess your tips would be story is very
Story
important.
is critical.
Using what you have.
Use what you have.
And
use the technology.
Use your technology available.
And be an entrepreneur. Really think about
where you're going to market the film.
from day one. Yes, you can make a great film, but if it sits on a shelf and no one sees it, you have to be thinking about that from day one. And of course, with the internet, with audience engagement online, you can get an audience. If you're thinking about it from day one, you can take the right stills and photos. You can be talking about your film while you're making it. And so these are the key things. And I think what we haven't yet seen fully developed in Australia is the model around online distributions in terms of
As in stream that
video on demand and stream. Yeah, well, how do you ignore TV broadcasters and cinemas and go, I'm making my film online for this small amount of money. I know that I've got an audience.
If you had an audience and you could get internet advertising, you could make a lot of money doing that, couldn't you?
Great, there's a business model.
Could be the next thing.
If you can be making films and getting your money back and making them cheap enough that that's an easy amount of money to make back, then you've got what most of our film industry in Australia doesn't have, which is a sustainable way to make movies. I think you have to remember as a filmmaker you're making, you're telling a story, and you don't tell a story to everybody, you tell a story to an audience, and that really helps you frame the way you tell it. I guess there's a saying, that sometimes the more specific something is in terms of the story, the more universal it is. You can't please everybody in a story. You have to tell a story that's specific and invite people kind of into that world.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's been amazing. Apparently some Open Channel staff watch Provisionally Approved, so
we do.
Hello to them. And back to you in studio, Gloria.
Well, that was interesting what he said. Like with Paranormal Activities, that had 15,000 and made 193 million. The Castle actually was done in '97. That had 20,000, and that also made a big return. And that was done.
One of my favourite movies.
Yeah, it's one of my favourites too.
It was-
It's so funny. But micro-budgeting, I guess back in the day, you didn't have Facebook and Twitter and stuff. So it was obviously a lot difficult.
Yeah, a lot more difficult.
Because he mentioned marketing.
Yeah.
And it's the same with crowdfunding.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You really just, how would you go about marketing it if you didn't have the technology? Like when you first started?
Well, that's it. It's and also because you've got the digital just come such a long way too. Before you had to use film. And you had to use sort of fairly high quality film to get the message across, because anyone that's looking at it would, even back then, whether it was the 90s or whatever, would understands that this is a bit of a cheap. There's a cheap film.
If we
or
move back further, then they
Yeah.
cut the actual film to edit and sew it together. So,
Well, exactly.
that's true.
So, but what I did want to mention, we're doing a couple of features next year.
Yeah.
And they'll be, one of them will be pretty well funded. I think the other one will be crowdfunded, hopefully. And they're sort of quite unusual. But when you do a micro-budget film, I'm very big on. Okay, you finished now?
Probably a ghost in the studio.
Exactly.
Well, you were
ghost.
talking about Paranormal Activity.
That's true. We were talking about
Okay.
paranormal. I saw that one, but I got scared of it. But it's quite interesting because Paranormal Activities was clever filmmaking as well.
Yeah.
But it actually it proves that you can make a film on a low budget.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
As with what you were saying, David.
Yeah. So a couple of things I do when I'm making, I make sure my cast and crew are always looked after really well. I just had this week on Facebook. It's funny because I'm here now, but this week on Facebook, I don't know who it was. It was a couple of students that have actors that have just been in a film, and also quite a well-known actor and a couple of crew that were complaining about a film they'd worked on just recently, and saying, we're not servants to the director and the producer, and that we'd really nice if we didn't just have crap food, that at least they offered coffee and tea, or we didn't have to spend our own.
Hard bit though.
We did. Sorry.
That's a hard bit with the food, because that's obviously the most expensive. And
Well, and it has to be in the budget. That's the whole
and
thing.
That's part
you
of
know
the-
that, Marty,
but-
because
but
as an actress.
yeah.
So.
If you-
you've got, sorry, I was agreeing with David. You have to accommodate that within your budget that you're trying to set.
This is very
it's
important because if your cast and crew are fed at lunchtime well, you know, and it can be just chicken and salad, or you know, and wraps and that, you know, some healthy food, you know, then they will appreciate you so much more and work much harder and work longer hours, because it's like when we did the film down there. I had the DOP, who's a friend of mine, come up, he's a new friend, and he just said, wow, he said, look at this, he said, this is so fantastic, what you guys have put on. Now, it didn't cost a lot, it was just thought out and planned a little bit and say, okay, we will make sure they're looked after because they're doing a great job. So when they come back to the second part of the day, they're feeling energised again, you know?
So what about micro-budgeting? I guess let's say we crowdfund for a film, we have a total of 15,000 we want to make, but we only make, I'd say 5,000. How would we micro budget? Not only do you have to go on a press tour, you have to see what film festivals you want to go to, you have to, you know, come up with if you need to, the technology, the cameras and all, and depending on the film though, if it's an action film, I mean, that would be difficult, wouldn't it?
Well, it can be done. A lot of these things need to be, like film festivals for instance, you need to plan those out before you start shooting. Right, so in pre-production, right, you plan that out. So you're saying, okay, these are the festivals my film is going to be suited for because each festival is different. Now, usually, not all of them, but some of them give a bit of a rundown, and some of them also only have like, I don't enter festivals on a second tier level that just have one win, you know, one winner. So they don't have actors, best actress, best actor, cinematographer, anything like that. Some of them have a lot, so you have more opportunity there too to win those, and so you need to just plan that out. Now you can do action films on a short amount of money, you know, but 5,000 is not a lot to do that on. But you know, you can do it. You can do it.
I'd like to actually get Marty's opinion from an actress's perspective on working, because you talked about the food.
I did. I actually love my food.
I do too.
Whenever I'm on set, you know, it's very important to me that I eat well. I get a bit hypoglycemic and keep my energy up. And when I first started going back in student films, I felt that they fed us on pizzas and lollies.
That's being a student though, that's the thing. You go for the most affordable thing.
I know, but I mean, how many jelly babies and pizzas can you eat over a 5-day shoot?
You can make I was on a film though, and I interrupted here, I'm sorry, but I was on a film where this person, because I was production assistant, made like rice and mixed dried fruit and nuts in there, and everybody loved it.
Yeah.
So you can actually think of...
Just thinking a little bit outside the box, you know?
You know, it's just a bit... the guys are going to kill me here. It's a bit of a male thing, you know, let's just get the pizzas. And you arrive on that set and there's lots of lollies. But a lot of actresses don't want to actually eat all that food. I'm conscious of being healthy. I like to exercise, I like to eat well. And so you don't have to actually spend more. You just have to, what David said, think about...
My first film was that exactly, pizzas.
Yeah, so, and my experience... If you're giving your time, if an actress is giving her time and she enjoys the script and she's willing to do that because he or she believes that it's going to do well at the festivals, you're always hoping that, please just feed us well and be professional.
Well, let's get back to the actual topic because we're going off topic, to micro-budgeting and crowdfunding. And the best, because Dan gave some good tips, but from your experience, what tips would you give for me to micro-budget or to even crowdfund?
Well, it's about being organised, as he said. It's about being organised, and he mentioned a number of topics about marketing, about social media, about rewards. You've got to have a good script. You know, he mentioned that a couple of times that you need to have a good script for get people interested. You also need to have some sort of a video, whether it's a video of the director talking, whether it's a video of the actresses or whatever. But creative, not too long, maybe 20 seconds. That's quite a bit for people to take in. And yeah, there needs to be a lot of marketing, you know. And I'm not good at marketing, you know. So my suggestion would be to get someone in that's good at marketing, you know, and make them part of the budget for the whole film. So they get their, payment for what they do, you know, as part of the whole film. You know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, usually what they do on big films is they just get the famous person and get them to, you know.
Well, that's it. Exactly.
That's marketing.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah, that's true. I just also want to touch, I guess, a little bit more. I think we spoke about what we'll put into a video, because there needs to be a lot of good visuals, you know, and we also talked about the incentives and what incentives you would give, and you're going to be doing a crowdfunding campaign, so what incentives would you, I guess, want to provide someone like me who would be wanting to give to your crowdfunding campaign?
Well, it was mentioned before about the premiere, but there's other things like they can come on set, you know, they can have photographs with the lead actors, you know, and director, that's me, and producers, you know. They can get a copy of the script personally signed, you know. There's a number of number of things that they can have that, and it would depend on, you know, as I said, people love, generally speaking, the general public love to be involved with film would love to be involved in film in some way.
What about a student like me who obviously can't afford the good incentives and would only be like, I'll credit your name, I'll put you on EP. I mean, I guess, as you said, you can't micro-budget on $0, and most of us students will be doing $0. I mean, do you think, because I do want to touch a tad on, there's this new Screen Australia initiative that we spoke about, Mardi, that is helping more women in the industry and has various different documents you can go through and various different options. But here's the thing, some of those options are you have to be a PDY LTD. You have to, even when I was trying to get onto last year, finding some work, you have to work on somewhere like Home and Away or Neighbours. You have to have all this work or be in a film festival, like Hello, Tom Sullivan's gone to a film festival, so you're going to be fine. You'd be able to kind of get on that.
This is what when I started, right. I had a clear objective into how I would have to do it. I'd have to write my own scripts because I hadn't written before. I'd have to win festivals. My films would have to win festivals, not just for me, but for the cast and crew that are in there too, because they get the benefit of that, you know. So for me to be able to access funding, right, that was the criteria. So you're better off doing one film a year for new students or anything than trying to do 2 or 3, you know, that are average. Try and do something that's absolutely perfect, 100%. So you do win an award, right? It gets a festival, even if it's an official selection, you know, because that gives you credibility with the powers that be that have the dollars, you know.
But what do you think about the Screen Australia initiative, though?
I think it's fabulous.
And
look, I think it's fantastic.
You were asking Marty?
Both of you.
I think it's fabulous anyhow.
I think it's mainly for women.
Well, it's actually closed now, but the gender funding, which was $5 million over 2 years. And there were various different categories, you know, My Brilliant Career, the Writers' Grant, and different grants. And it was very, which David looked at and has been involved, it was very comprehensive.
I'm involved with one of them.
And it's very comprehensive, and you've seen it. So when you've read all the documentation, yes, some of the requirements were you do need to be a proprietary limited company. And one of the roles that I'm involved in project is called, I think you know, is Witches, which is
TV series.
Which is TV series.
Keep an eye out.
That's right. So we're hoping to do the pilot, and that's going to go to the States, and for that to be fully funded, and that's quite a big production. And for that, you had to be a proprietary limited company. And one of the things that we've said to people, and they said, oh, well, that costs, you know, $400 to be a proprietary limited company. My answer to that is, and to students, that is money very well spent. If you're wanting to be a professional and apply for a grant, that company name to say that your company is vital.
That is, and you know what? There's so much we can talk about and we can go into.
We could.
Because it's such a big topic as well. Yeah. But David, we spoke about, meet Hello, Tom Sullivan.
Hello, Tom Sullivan.
I keep wanting to call it Meet Tom Sullivan.
I know.
You should change your name to Meet.
The run sheet said Meet, and I said, was that my film?
No, it's not. I changed the name of your film.
Maybe that's the the sequel.
The sequel
is we need to, we do need to wrap up because we've gone on and on. So I'd like to thank you so much, David, for coming on, and Marty as well, and Dan, who's a micro-budgeting expert. So we're just going to leave everyone with hello, Tom Sullivan.
Hello. Hello, Maria. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
So much, and thank you for watching Provisionally Approved.